Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And with this one, I wanted to cover some tactics to deal with warriors and in particular double melee DPS. So if you've had a pain or a hard time with all of these rep paladins and warriors, enhancement shamans and feral druids running around, really just not making your day, I have a composition here and a strategy that I think you might be interested in trying because it's certainly going to make them miserable. So if you'd like to introduce a little bit of misery towards these specializations that are so highly represented and quite difficult to deal with, then this is going to be the one that you want to initiate. So in this video, I'm going to be playing with an Affliction Warlock, I know, very odd, an Arms Warrior, and then of course myself, a Restoration Druid. The main purpose of this composition is to combine your Entangling Roots with the Honor Talent Deep Roots with Unstable Affliction from the Warlock. This will prevent the enemy healer from dispelling Entangling Roots without being incredibly punished for it, which means that you are going to make a lot of melee DPS very salty. I have actually personally received messages from warrior players telling me how much they hate playing against me specifically, so this is definitely a strategy that you will want to be trying. In this specific matchup against the Enhanced Shaman and the Arms Warrior, you're going to need to figure out who they're trying to attack and time your roots around that. Now, in this particular clip, they tend to attack me a little bit more, so I will be covering it more from a personal defense point of view, but at times when they've stopped attacking me, then I'm going to be talking about how to control them when they're not hitting you, which is a lot easier. At the start of the fight, you want to run straight at the melee DPS. I know, scary, but your main goal here is to just root them as fast as possible with Mass Entanglement. You can utilize Ursul's Vortex as well here to pin the melee DPS, the Warrior and Shaman in this position, and prevent them from getting to your Warlock. That's kind of your main goal, is to just keep them away from the Warlock and annoy them. In this position, they're so pinned down that they have to hit your Warrior, which is perfect for your team. You can lay all of your big heal over time effects into your Warrior while they're pinned and unable to attack any other target. This will make your Warrior very durable. Your Warrior will then be able to cleave multiple targets, and your Warlock will be free casting. But you can quickly see that they don't really want to be hitting the Warrior because that's unadvantageous. So in this position, your Warlock can then use their mobility, and this is going to be the Demonic Gateway, to escape from the melee attackers. And then on their way back to the Warlock, you want to utilize whatever crowd control you have. So here I used Incapacitating Roar and a Bear Form Wild Charge Root. However, here the Warriors activated Spear of Bastion, that red circle on the ground, which means my Warlock can't move. So using my Innervate plus Overgrowth is going to provide an insanely massive heal onto that target, and right when they can't escape. You can also utilize Thorns during this time. However, I like splitting them up between Ironbark and Thorns, so I used Ironbark during that cooldown rotation. And then later on, I want to use Thorns either right after, and then after their cooldowns, focus on getting some dots out. So in this position, Moonfire. I wouldn't recommend using Sunfire because it's very expensive in terms of mana. But here in this position, I've used Cenarian Ward on my Warrior, and you almost always want to use Swiftmen on the Cenarian Ward. That's going to make the target very durable. And you can see that the melee attackers are already kind of getting fed up trying to chase their target, with my Warlock now jumping off the side of the bridge and the ability to portal back upstairs. While they're chasing my Warlock, I do want to try and utilize Entangling Roots as much as I can. So this Shaman has run into a really bad spot, and because they're in such a bad spot, they're going to have to use their Gap Closer, their little sprint effect, to get out of that root, which means they won't have it later when it's going to really matter for them. Now in this position, another advantage of playing with the Affliction Warlock is that you can run Shackles of Malediction. Here we see one shackle active on the Warrior, and then I run to activate my Shackle of Malediction, and the main purpose here is to use it on a target that has Unstable Affliction. This way, if the enemy healer removes it, they're going to take a significant amount of damage and silence themselves. Now in this position, you can see that I've been sitting on my Mass Entanglement for some time and haven't activated it, and it's mostly because they haven't collided on the same target, so you only want to utilize that once they have. Here in this position, I'm expecting a Spear of Bastion, almost anticipating it, so I'm going to use Cenarian Ward on the Warlock and use a Swiftman to extend its duration. That's usually what you're always going to want to do as a Druid healer, any target that you expect to be the main focus. Now while the Warrior is chasing my Warlock, I'm anticipating them to use some mobility here, so I use Vortex. When they don't use the mobility on the bait, I then root the Warrior downstairs. This is giving my my Warlock a lot more time to cast, and then I can maybe move for crowd control. But I'm having a tough time because their druid uses fleshcraft to immune mine, so I'm just going to use my fleshcraft to immune their crowd control, because why not? That's actually usually what ends up happening when you're standing next to 2 healers that are using it. But after it's over, I can then cyclone the druid. Here I see the Spear of Bastion again, that blue circle. Very important you acknowledge it. My warrior in this position prevented the damage by disarming the enemy warrior, so using crowd control or using cooldowns during that big circle is going to be very important to the overall strategy and surviving here. But now at this point, they've pretty much given up on chasing the warlock, and they've started to attack me. So I've jumped into bear form, and I'm just trying to get my thrash stacked up for extra damage, get my moonfire going for extra damage. But then I see my warrior at 50% health, so I activate Cenarian Ward. This is going to be the emergency recovery. However, they're still focusing me. So as soon as they've done that in a stun, using Barkskin is a good idea. And then I'll use Stampeding Roar, which is my mobility, to get to the gateway and then teleport far away from the attackers. And that is the main goal, is to basically tilt your opponents as much as possible by using this heavy amount of mobility and entangling roots to prevent them from connecting. Here, Shackles of Malediction activates on myself, so I quickly dispel it and go for a big heal immediately afterwards, anticipating further maledictions. Then I use my Mass Entanglement while still moving in bear form to root them. As soon as they're rooted, I cancel the bear form to go travel form to move faster, but I don't want the warrior to catch up to me, so rooting them before making that shape shift is very important. And then my main goal is to just run as far away from the targets that I've rooted as possible in the open to allow my warlock to cast out as much damage as possible. And that's basically anyone's goal. The warlock, when they're getting attacked, is running in the open for you to root targets so that they can then turn around and start blasting them back. But if you've tilted the enemy team so much to the point where they're attacking you or your warrior, this is going to be the prime position for your team, because that's when they're going to really start to feel the pain. Here I activate Thorns on myself because the warrior is attacking me all by himself and the shaman is nowhere near. I jump into bear form when I'm the target during that red circle on the ground, the Spear of Bastion. This is going to increase my armor and allow me to be a lot more tanky, and I'm basically just punching the warrior one-on-one, while my allies start going after the enemy healer. Using a Shackles of Malediction on a healer is really deadly. If this druid dispels right now, they'll die. Or if they don't dispel, they might die. Unfortunately, it looks like their shaman was able to actually heal them during that critical moment, but that can be a checkmate position. Here, I reposition by rooting the melee attackers and just standing slightly out of their range as they start cleaving my warrior. And I immediately go into bear form when that root ends and use a Frenzied Regen. It's a really good idea to combine Adaptive Swarm with Frenzied Regeneration. This is going to amplify its effect and almost always get you back up into full health. Now in this position, while the druid CC'd, I dropped some damage out, so put some moonfires onto the enemy targets to help out with some of the rot pressure. But I've spent a lot of time in their face, honestly, here. So I'm going to have to use my trinket to get out of the stun lock and then connect a big heal into myself with the Swift Mend. And you got to be careful here because I'm getting a bit overconfident, honestly, in my positioning. But at the same time, my team is really ripping them in. So you can almost bait people to hit you by standing in a bad spot and leaving your warlock open to free cast, but you've got to realize if you overstay your welcome, you're going to regret it. Here I cyclone the shaman at low health. This is most importantly on their astral shift, that kind of purple yellow icon that reduces damage on shamans when it's active. So cycloning it prevents the shaman from recovering, although thanks to their own healing surges, they seem to recover just fine there. Maybe some more healing nerfs in the future. We'll have to wait and see, but it's still a good idea because it will make the enemy team panic. Now, Spear of Bastion is down. Bear form, Frenzied Regen. Really good answer. Activate Thorns while you can't really escape, and then do a bunch of damage back to the attackers that have currently got you pinned. And you can see the pressure across the board. The shaman and warrior are just completely tilted. They don't know who to go after. Everybody's just dying. They're just, let's get out of here. Let's try and survive. And it's really not going well for them at this point in the game, with us basically getting a double kill. And this composition, or just in general, Affliction Warlock Resto Druid feels very powerful into a lot of these double DPS compositions. So if you're just starting out on the ladder, these are very prevalent at the moment. So you can almost get a little bit of a counter going onto a lot of these double DPS. Now, things like Windwalkers become a little bit more difficult. Things like Feral Druids become a little bit more difficult because they have a lot more ways to get out of root effects. But there's a lot of Demon Hunter Death Knights. There's a lot of Warrior Death Knights. There's a lot of Enhancement Warrior, Ret Warrior. And this composition or combination, the Warlock Druid, you can pair it up with an Ellie Shaman or with an Arms Warrior, is going to really enable you to try this strategy out and give a go to it. I personally enjoy playing like this on my Druid probably the most of any playstyle. It makes me feel a lot more engaged with the match as opposed to kind of just sitting 40 yards away from the fight and trying to out mana every team. It gets me into the fight. It gets me focused on offense as well as defense a lot more. So if you're looking for an engaging strategy, something to really challenge yourself and also just completely tilt your opponents off the face of the earth, then this is going to be the strategy that you want to go for. Other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope that you liked it. If you did, please leave it with a thumbs up. Comment down below with your thoughts about this strategy. Do you think it's going to tilt some warriors? Are you going to go and try it yourself? If so, definitely let us know down below, and consider hitting the subscribe button. It's absolutely free. Just lets you know when my videos go live. I focus on this channel around education and updates. So whenever you want to know what's happening in World of Warcraft, is it worth coming back? What should I check out coming back? That's what this channel is great for. Or if you're interested in learning how to play and trying to up your skills, then this is going to be what this channel is for. Other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.